at the end, I'm getting older. Now I'm started to think about creating memories.
How do you balance that with career and everything going on, right? Because I mean, like, especially when in the early stages of marriage is when pretty much you're also starting to build your career, and then now you have family, and then so of course now with the kids, I'm sure that I can't imagine it makes it easier. I'm not sure, but like in terms of your experience, like how does that been when it comes to balancing those important stuff out?
Yeah. I always have family as one of the values. Here's the thing. Have you guys read the 7 Habits book?
Highly effective people.
Yeah, highly effective people.
Stephen Covey.
Yeah, in the habit, second habit is begin with end in mind. So we need to know which directions we want to go. Sometimes you swerve around a little bit, of course. Like you cannot go straight to the goal, but you know when you swerve around, you know that you have to swerve back because that's where your goal is. So one of my goals is to have a good family and to basically to prepare my kids for their future life. Basically to educate them and to prepare them and to have a good family. So that is one of the goals. So that makes it easy for me not getting any easy, but it's easier for me to find out a balance, work and life balance. And here's the thing, the balance is relative. Yeah, I mean it's not like what I consider a balance might not what you guys consider a balance. Yeah. So it's a balance that we can tolerate, and especially now, so with all the technologies and everything, we can always work in after hours and everything. So we just have to know when you swerve out, you have to swerve back. Yeah. Because you cannot say that like, okay, because I wanna have a balanced life and work and life balance, so I don't want to go overtime. So every day I have to go at 5, for example. I don't want to go overtime, but that's not sustainable. That's not possible. I would like to do that, but that is not possible because things may come up at work, and same thing happens to my wife as well. She's even more busier than I am. So we learn that goes both ways. But you know that, for example, like if this week has been more towards work heavy, so at least on the weekend I have to be so much, family heavy, rather than like watching TV and doing some like triathlon training, for example. So I should, cut down on those, bike rides and, run and swimming, then spend time more with family because I know I've been, more into work heavy in this week, for example. So it's keep on like finding a balance. It's not like you set a value or set a balance and it stays there. But you just have to tweak it now and then.
Yeah, time management, right?
Time management.
What do you think?
Yeah. What do you think, like?
Yeah, I think that makes complete sense, Berry. And probably just one thing to add is like learning to be in the present moment, right? When you're spending time, whether with your family or during work, right? So I think there's occasionally times where, okay, it's work heavy, at least be present during work and make sure you complete your work. Then when it's time with family, right, be in the present moment and be with them, right? Yeah. Don't be like half-hearted, because when you're half-hearted or like your mind is divided, then in the end you don't achieve anything, right? Sure. You don't achieve like completing your work in time and also like spending quality time with your family or significant other or anything else. Yeah. I think that's the only.
No, definitely. And I think another thing to add to that as well is, I guess like me and Berry can I'm sure you can understand this, but when I it's also good to be able to plan, right, in terms of things that you want to do, because sometimes the last thing that you want is, of course, quantity is important, but so is quality. And so being able to make something more exciting, taking everyone to dinner, or doing something that's going to be, something that's going to be not just like sitting down and watching TV together. I mean, that could also be part of it, right? Maybe you want to watch exciting movies. So it's just like what I learned as well is just like quantity is important, but so is quality. So be able to really plan ahead to see, okay, like this is kind of what I want to do with all this together, so we can actually enjoy the experience together, right? It's the same thing with friends as well. If you're just kind of at the end of the day, drinking a few glasses and just sitting down and just talking. I mean, that could be interesting, could be fun.
Yeah.
But there's also other things that you want to do. You don't want to do that for 12 hours, right? And so
True.
I think like being able to have that balance is also good. Like to just like be able to create something exciting because someone has to initiate it. So I think to be able to initiate those activities is always interesting.
Yeah, and remember, you're at the end. I'm getting older now. I'm started to think about creating memories. So especially now, my kids are getting they're becoming a teenager and stuff like that. So I don't regret any single day when they were like babies and I changing their diapers because my wife doesn't like to change diapers. So we divide jobs. Like I like changing diapers for the record, but I don't like feeding my sons. So I don't have the I think they're too slow. So and those are memories that you carry over until now, and especially important when your kids are now growing up and they have the options of whether hanging out with you or they want to go with their friends. And yeah, luckily I think we've become quite a good. We bonded quite well since the beginning. So now I mean they're okay. I mean they're still okay going with us during weekends, the mall and stuff. But sometimes sometimes they just like no, I want to hang out with friends, but that doesn't come very often. So yeah, I mean, and we have a limited time to be with them.
Yeah. I mean, I think as definitely early 20s as well. Me and Ray. I mean, like we also can understand that, right? To be able to have family time.
Yeah.
To be able to spend time with your friends, and then I think one of the things that I realized is that you can actually have it all. You can have the balance of career with prioritizing of your family, still hanging out with friends and making good memories with everyone. I mean, you can have it all. I think what matters is like what is your priority, but also time management is very important. But also what are you willing to sacrifice? So for example, if you want to do all these activities, it's like you may have to like not do those things for that day, to spend time with your family and friends. To have both. So I think there's definitely just like being able to identify your priorities and to see and how things can.
You mentioned something about how are you willing to sacrifice. That is a very important keyword, I think, because in our life we're all given the same 24 hours, and we have to choose. And you cannot do it all. You cannot do like family 100% and then work 100% and then friends, hanging out 100% and then everything 100%. You have to divide it up in the 24 hours between this and that. So there are some sacrifices to be made.
Right.
I know, and I've rejected some, when I was looking for a job, for example, there was like this. I shouldn't probably mention the company, but there's a like one big company, multinational company, and which is a good positions, but it seems like I'm supposed to be like away for like 3 months for training, and then after that away overseas for the training, and then after that I don't see I can achieve a good work-life balance in the company. So I turned down the offer, which is I mean the company was like baffled, like how come this guy's like. Don't you know who we are? It's like nothing against you guys. It's just like it's a different path that I'm willing to take. So there are sacrifices to be made, definitely. So whether you want to sacrifice your but at the end, you don't want to have any resentment. Like I choose this, but this, but you gotta choose whatever that you think is the best. And you will learn that from experience as well.
Yeah, we talk about like I guess like a day there's only 24 hours, right? And for sure like you need to be able to balance it out. But I guess for me sometimes I realize in my life there are different phases. There's a phase where I really focus on my career. Then there's a phase where I realize, oh my God, I'm focusing too much. Let me shift gears, right? Both. Like what are your thoughts about that, right? Do you think that's normal? Do you think the ideal case is that someone needs to just be balanced all the time? Or is it actually normal to have like different phases where there's a time where it's for you to focus on your career, there's a time where you need to shift gears, focus a little bit about your own personal life? Like, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a great question. So let me let me first say this is my own kind of experience and opinion, and so I think everyone has different phases and everyone has different circumstances. So I think the first thing is definitely like identify what that is, right? But for me, first of all, I think we can all agree time flies.
Yeah.
And then Berry, like changing diapers of your kids, like how fast was that compared to now?
That
right?
was fast, man.
Now, I think your kids are already in college, so time flies. Time is very fast, and I think the reason why I try to keep everything balanced, like my mentality is always do the habits that you have now that you want to do for the rest of your life. Why? Because you don't know how much longer you're gonna have to in your life. You don't know what's gonna happen in a few weeks or a few days or a few hours. Like that's something that anything can happen. And then so I understand. I completely understand why someone would want to have certain phases in their life and when they want to focus on just career and maybe branch out to more family later on. I understand. For me, I think though is like because I see my life as limited, and then so I don't know what's gonna happen next. I want to live fully now, live optimally now, like build the habits now as I would for the rest of my life. Because it's also not easy to switch. Like keep that in mind too, right? If you're going from like working all the time and then now you're sacrificing your work for family, it's not an easy switch. And same thing with something else. So for example, if you're partying all the time, it's not gonna be easy just to be able to say, all right, I'm gonna break it down so much to the point that I'm just gonna keep on working most of the time and party like much less. So I think instead of trying to have those adjustments, I try to just like live exactly the way I want to live now. That's my personal experience. That's just my own circumstances of my life, and of course my the blessings that I have with my family and my friends and my opportunities, which allowed me to do that. But I really feel like I think it's different for every person, but that's to me is what made it. Yeah. What about you guys?
Yeah. For me, it's pretty much the same as you.
Yeah.
So try to balance out as much as possible. Probably not in a day-to-day basis, but at least in a weekly basis. At least, at least I try that. Definitely try to do it in a daily basis, but it's not always possible. But at least in a weekly basis, because like what you said, time flies, and I'd like to create memories. To try to enjoy. I used to say like I try to enjoy my kids while they're young, and to experience their growth and all the little stories behind it. So that's why. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean echo both of you, right? In the end of the day is like what you mentioned, I think what hit home for me as well is like treat every day as your last, right? And if you treat every day as your last, then how do you actually want to spend your day to day if it's your last? Is it like fully work? Is it fully family? Like I think it depends, as you say, per person. And maybe it also affects like the variability in a week that you mentioned, right, Paberi? Like it could be where you have a tough day today, but yeah, I guess treat it as your last, focus on it. And then the next day, knowing that, like now what do you want to do in today, right? And if you treat like every day as your last, then you'll spend the time based on what you think is important, and probably that is the sweet spot there.
Yeah. So I think I definitely know what you mean in terms of living your life, living as if it was your last day. But another perspective as well is that if this was your last day, you'd probably not be working. Like probably be like either trying to spend as much time as you can with your loved ones, maybe like go to a place that you haven't. And then so the way that my perspective on it is like I think knowing that your time is limited, which is like seeing your life right now, and then maybe even looking at it in the next 10 years. And so when you look at your future self in the next 10 years, how would you look back in this moment and say like, yeah, that's exactly the way I would have lived like at that point in time. And then so having that optimal mindset of just being able to say like, all right, I've been able to make the most of it at this point in time, and then be happy with whatever you have at that point.